Hi, I'm Luke White with CNN News, and today we will be talking about morphine, nicotine, and caffeine and their historical impact. Morphine, nicotine, and caffeine are all similar in the fact that they are extremely addictive. The pursuit of these molecules has occurred profoundly over time and still occurs greatly today. One of the most notable occurrences was the Opium Wars, which we will get into later. What are these molecules? Morphine is an alkaloid or variation of opium and is most commonly used to relieve pain. Nicotine, a stimulant and also an alkaloid, is most commonly used in tobacco. And lastly, caffeine, also a stimulant, this time of the central nervous system, is commonly found in tea and coffee. Next, we'll talk about the Opium Wars. The significance of the Opium Wars, chemically speaking, was that it connected all morphine, nicotine, and caffeine. The Opium Wars were between the Qing Empire of China and Great Britain, as well as other Western nations, regarding trade and economic relations. The British illegally traded morphine in the form of opium to China and for caffeine in the form of tea. Lastly, nicotine in the form of tobacco was mixed with opium and smoked by the Chinese. The Opium Wars sparked human desire for addictive drugs. Now to Graham Watkins in Germany on the specifics of morphine.
Well, thanks, Luke. I've had the unique opportunity to learn that morphine was first isolated by Friedrich Serturner. When it was discovered, it was named morphine after the Roman god of dreams, Morpheus. Morphine is useful because it is a narcotic, meaning it numbs the senses and relieves pain. And it also induces sleep. It's one of the most effective painkillers known to man, but unfortunately causes high levels of addiction. Now here's a quick timeline of what I found during my research. Morphine was first isolated in 1803, and then in 1898, after realizing its addictive properties, it was combined with salicylic acid to make a less addictive form of morphine by the laboratory of Baron Company, a German dye company. Unfortunately, from the saddening interviews I underwent, I found that the result of this discovery was the production of heroin. Now, heroin was a much stronger drug and it worked better, but unfortunately caused a lot higher addiction. It was sold over the counter at first as a cough suppressant until people realized the side effects that it had. This resulted in heroin being banned. Lastly, in 1925, the final structure of morphine was found and discovered. This long time span that it took to discover the true structure of morphine brought many scientists to come together and collaborate and create very useful scientific research. With all that being said, this is Graham from Germany, sending it back to Luke at the CNN headquarters.
Thanks, Graham. Now over to Jensen in Mexico on the details of nicotine.
Chewing leaves of tobacco plants was widespread among the Indians of South America, Mexico, and the Caribbean. Christopher Columbus saw men and women inhale smoke from burning leaves, and he brought it back to Europe, where it spread to the east in the 17th century. Nicotine eventually was outlawed, and the punishment for use of tobacco included torture, exile, and death. Nicotine is about 1,000 times more potent when absorbed through the skin than taken orally because it goes directly into the bloodstream and has the ability to imitate the role of a neurotransmitter. Nicotine that remains in smoke is also hazardous because it is absorbed directly into the lungs into the bloodstream.
That's great stuff, Jensen. Now on to Anna in China on a further explanation of caffeine.
Hi, this is Anna in China. Caffeine is one of the most used drugs in the world. The exact origins are unclear, but it has been a part of Asian countries' cultures. It is an organic substance found in coffee beans. Many people don't know that caffeine is actually a chemical formula and not a physical substance, like coffee beans or tea leaves. The Portuguese were the first Europeans to set up trade with China for their tea, but it was the British to declare war on China for Qing dynasty. What is now called the First Opium War in 1839. This war changed the balance of trade between China and Britain. China was required to pay a very large amount, opening 5 Chinese ports to British trade, and Hong Kong was taken from China as a British Crown colony. The opium trade was legalized after the Second Opium War, which gave freedom of movement to Christian missionaries.
Now, back in the United States, all of our reporters have come back from their respective countries to talk about the chemistry of their molecules. Here's Graham with morphine.
So the chemical structure was not finally determined until 1925. But once it was determined, they realized that it required a phenyl or aromatic ring, a quaternary carbon atom, meaning a carbon atom directly attached to four others, an CH2 and CH2 group attached to a tertiary nitrogen atom. Now, morphine mimics another molecule called endorphin, and it also contains the B-phenethylamine unit.
Thanks, Graham. Now here's Jensen with the chemistry of nicotine.
There are at least 10 alkaloids in tobacco, the major one being nicotine. The content of nicotine in tobacco varies from 2 to 8%. The nicotine molecule forms a bridge at the junction between nerve cells, which initially heighten the transmission of neurological impulses. In a very small dose, nicotine is a stimulant of the central nervous system and of the heart, but with large doses, it acts as a depressant. Blood circulation slows and oxygen is delivered to the body and brain at a lower rate, resulting in an overall sedative effect.
Now finally, here's Anna with caffeine.
Caffeine has 3 CH3 groups attached to its rings. This allows it to block adenosine in the brain, which causes us to become sleepy. So we may think caffeine wakes up our bodies, but it's actually just blocking the molecule which should make us sleepy. Caffeine can be used to treat asthma, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and low blood pressure. It gives you a small boost of energy, and some people have actually formed an addiction to caffeine, and they can't go one day without it.
That's all for us. Special thanks to our reporters for their insight on addictive drugs and their effect on humanity. See you next time.
We'd like to acknowledge our use of the book Napoleon's Buttons, which provided the majority of our very important and useful information in our video. Also, we'd like to mention our use of other well-respected sites, such as newsmedical.net and pbs.org, which contributed even more vital information to our presentation on the connection to the opium war and the chemical makeup of each drug.